What's going on, everybody? I am the Bad Duck and you are the internet. Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing something that I haven't done in a little bit. Writer strike is officially over, the SAG strike is still going on, but the reason why I'm allowed to cover these 5 films in this month that I'm planning to do in the month of October, especially because it's horror related, is because A24 has officially accepted terms with SAG and WGA to continue on producing films, so I believe I should be okay with this. If I'm not, I will take down the video as soon as possible as I'm alerted to it, but I think I'm okay. So, like I said, we're doing 5 films this month, all horror related, all from A24, or from smaller studios that aren't connected to the AMPTP, and we're starting this month with Saint Maud. I had never seen Saint Maud before. It was kind of like I was looking through A24 films, seeing like what I want to cover, because my brain's a little frisky, doesn't really understand what exactly I can cover off the top of my head. But looking through, I was looking, okay, we have a few films that I've watched, and then some that I haven't watched, but I own. And Saint Maud caught my attention through the trailer. The trailer was very much a depiction of kind of like religious torment. It's kind of interesting to me, and I wanted to investigate further. And it was a pretty short film to go into at an hour 24, and I was perplexed, more or less, to say the least. The film is well done. It's beautifully lit. It has amazing cinematography, and it kind of like it bends your mind, but not breaks it. There's films like Midsommar or like The Witch and many others that break your mind essentially throughout the entirety of the film. Saint Maud doesn't do that. It kind of confuses you for the most part. It makes you feel like that it's a religious psychosis type thing where she's believing more than what meets the eye or what normally conceive. We don't know if this world is completely like ours or it's not, and we're trying to navigate our way through a very complicated mind and at the same time as navigate this world at the same time. And it doesn't help that our narrator, or more specifically our main character, is not a truthful teller. She kind of glosses over. She mixes up her facts. She moves things around. It doesn't tell us anything straight, and it's a very interesting ideal and interesting way they did it, and it gets you at the edge of your seat throughout the whole film, like, because you can kind of see her unwinding. She starts off as this like preppy, like straight-laced Christian woman, and then you see her as she gets closer to her patient, who is the center point of the film, that she becomes a little more possessive. And it's uneasy seeing that, and you can see that in a lot of media, and I think that's where a lot of people like get uneasy from. But more specifically, I got uneasy from her weird relationship with God. If you haven't seen the movie, there's this weird, maybe fantastical element, if not maybe psychotic element to her, that whenever she helps someone get closer to God, she helps save their soul, she has this feeling, and the way it's told to us is it's this pulsing, shivering type feeling, and the way we see it through her eyes is it's more of like an orgasmic feeling rather than a tingling sensation that makes you feel nice. Like, it's not like a dopamine rush, it's more like it's an O rush, essentially. The patient seems to have the same feeling throughout that time, and we're starting to believe that the God that she believes in is a real one. But throughout the film, it starts to unwind and break. That patient wasn't entirely truthful. It was entirely just faking it for either A, attention, or B, of boredom, as we see in our party scene later on, that she basically reprimands our main character for her actions during that time, and how she dealt with that, and how she dealt with the patient's lesbian lover was also part of that. It's part of the possessive feeling that she also grows on in the first like quarter to half of the film. Eventually the patient is, our main character hits the patient, and then our main character loses her job and everything like that, and she slowly goes down this like spiral, and I don't know, it confused me at first. When talking to my girlfriend, I was thinking, I don't really know what this is, because she goes on drinking and like excessively, and then hooking up with men that was particularly not her field before. She was very shy, very reserved, and her having the sudden change in action, we came up to the term that she was basically defying her god to gain his attention, to reprimand her, to regain her sense of that he is real. And I mean, it felt like that was what it was, but it's also very confusing how the story goes and how the story unwinds itself, and that slowly leads to her unwinding of her mental well-being. It's like this psychotic feeling of her obsession went from the patient to God and to his approval. It's like a toxic relationship, and it's a very interesting thing to watch unfold, and it's a very good film. But that unwinding slowly leads into the ending of the film, where it went from a slow burn type of like uneasiness type feeling to a last 10 minutes that literally fucking blows off the roof, where it maybe delves into the religious atmosphere of this paranormal, or it doesn't. I mean, it's kind of for us to tell, but it doesn't fully go into that. It leaves that up to us for about 10 minutes, and the movie ends, and it kind of unfolds and tells us this was all not real. It never existed. It was all in her mind. It was her religious psychosis. It was because then in the film, we're relieved to have that she was redeemed, and then she was blessed, and then that she was this saint. And the last half second of the film, it shows us her burning herself alive, not ascending to God. And I really wish they kind of just left it up in the air of like, maybe it was religious psychosis, maybe it wasn't. I really would appreciate the subtlety rather than the outright telling us this was all her psychosis. Otherwise, the film is amazingly done. The acting kind of felt iffy at times, but I didn't really feel like too against it. But overall, I mean, the acting was fine. I didn't have any problems with it. I really love the cinematography, because the whole film is all this gloomy, cloudy, rainy atmosphere, and then at the end of the film, when she's redeemed, it glows. It's a brighter, sunnier time. And I just love the change in the atmosphere. The editing is nothing to write home about. It's more the same old. Nothing like how Sam Raimi did it, like where he does like he pulls you in through like eyes and stuff like that. No, it's normal like editing you would see that typically you wouldn't recognize otherwise. But the perplexing feelings I had towards the film was more due to because the middle part kind of it didn't really tell us or have us understand why she was doing these things, other than what we assume is her defiance towards God and her feelings towards him, because she loses her faith after she loses her job. And it just, overall, the film is well done. It just confused me more or less, and typically a lot of these films, the A24 films, can be confusing through a first watch, and this was my first watch. But overall, I think that like A24 isn't as confusing as long as you pay close attention, which I did. This one is just, I think it's good enough not to be average, but it's not great enough to be in like the top tier of A24, where like you have those great films that we all know and love from what made A24 this hulking beast of horror in the end. But yeah, I appreciated it. It had this weird like twisting mind of psychosis, and I enjoyed the view of not a victim of the psychosis, but the person with the psychosis. We had the unreliable narrator guiding us rather than watching the victims die, which typically horror movies that have this type of uneasy feeling, like The Strangers, have us through the eyes of the victim rather than the eyes of the perpetrator. So I really did love that. But overall, I think the film was good. I would recommend it if you like that trippy type of storytelling where nothing's like really told to you, but nothing's really given to you at the same time. But I in the end, I think it was kind of given to us with that like last second clip. But Saint Maud is the evolution of what we've gotten in the last few years, is that storytelling doesn't need to be straight up and told, and it's an art house film through and through, more than your normal horror film. It's the A24 like formula. Give us something that's different, something that's unique, and let the storyteller tell their story. And it's an appreciation that has been shown throughout, and that SAG has loved, that they given special permission for them to continue filming films. Like, I have 2 films throughout, and it's special. It's a extraordinary thing to have storytellers tell the story and have them be heard. And I think that same Modwell, not particularly like loved by me, I think is a statement on its own that I don't think any other studio would have taken this film as seriously and as, you know, would have let them tell their story. I really appreciate that from A24, and I really hope they don't become one, the AMPTP, where they're greedy and they want to own these actors and own these writers rather than work with them and, you know, pay their way for these storytellers to tell their stories. I'll see you guys next week in the review for The Witch, which is one of my favorite films of all time. We're gonna revisit it and check it out, and I'll tell you everything I feel and love about that movie next week.